All right, welcome to our night exterior pre-rig day. And when you're doing night exteriors, you gotta bring the big guns. And we are. We're starting with a 120-foot Condor. This is a super boom. It's a straight arm Condor. I don't like the jibs. When you get those jibs and those knuckles, you never can get it in the right place. It always starts to fail. So straight arms are king. We got all our leveling blocks. So we're able to get these things all super safe and level. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to my gaffer, Tom, and my key grip, Brendan, and we're gonna go through what I would love in this Condor. So basically, we have about 150 yards of travel with our car. We're gonna be lighting this night exterior here. The car is gonna be driving down the road. It's gonna go past us and up the hill. So I need to light about 150 yards. So I'm gonna turn to the Nanlux 2400Bs with this 30-degree reflector, because I'm kind of turning them into a maxi brute. Maxi brutes are the best way that I love to light night exteriors, because you're able to take a very narrow spot of light and you're able to tilt it up just above the set so it fires over the top of it, and all that light balances from the base of the Condor all the way 150 yards right up to your location. This is something a skill that I used when I was a gaffer. Everyone was like, put some nets under the light and put this and everything. I'm like, no. Full spot the thing and just waste it off the set. And it's an even wash for 150 to 300 yards. So we're gonna put these 4 2400Bs. That's gonna be my pseudo LED, maxi brute. Then we're gonna go for rigging movers. Now, why would I want rock and roll lights on a Condor for night exterior? We're not doing any rock and roll show or a music video. So I use moving lights to be able to highlight and give depth and dimension in the background. So imagine if from this big crane shot that we're gonna do, this is going absolutely black in the background. I can swing a mover around, flood it out, spot it in, diffuse it, and all of a sudden bring those avocado orchards on that hillside to life. So you can build dimension and you can play with different subtle color. So you can make it 200 to 300 degrees different than your main moonlight source. So you get this beautiful blend of color contrast. All right, Tom, why don't you take them through how you're gonna rig these lights in here and what these units are all about.
Sure, so Nanlux has given us 4 2400Bs, and they've given us a cage that we can lose the yokes, and we can put them all just right into the slots in the cage so that we can have 4 units together. So like Shane was saying, he likes to use maxi brutes. This is probably the equivalent of 2 or 3 12 light maxi brutes, and maybe the equivalent of an 18K Airy Max or 18K Fresnel HMI. So we're gonna run everything off of our Saniset Fleet battery tow plant for the next couple of days, which is gonna be amazing. And then we have the 2 moving lights. So all that will be cabled up to the arm, and then we'll have a lunchbox with data, so our programmer that's about 400 feet away can communicate with the lights instantly and be able to change the color temperature, intensity. He'll be able to move the moving lights around to light up the backgrounds of wherever the camera's pointing at, and should be good to go from there.
All right, and these are the days that everything is now this LED technology. I have started to leverage the crap out of this, right? Because I have full control. Back in the day when it was a maxi brute and I wanted to take it down, I had to turn bubbles off. This is all on a dimmer board. I can change different color temps. I can go into spot and flood. If we had Fresnels on here, we could actually flood and spot them remotely. We rig this to the basket in a way that we can tilt and pan the basket so we don't need anyone up in the lift. So it becomes this amazing light that gets above, and as you can see, these trees are very tall around us, so we got to get up very high to be able to do a beautiful even wash. And that's where our kind of Nanlux 4 cluster of lights will come into. All right, Brendan, now how are you going to make this a reality? And my God, can I put all these lights in this lift?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you'd like to do is have the cluster of Nanlux lights up here, so that'll be 4 of them. And then down below you'd like a mover, and we'd like to spread them out a little bit.
Absolutely, one on left, one on right.
Right, so what we would do traditionally is we'd rig stuff off of candlesticks in the basket, and then we'd come up with some sort of rig below the basket. So what's super important is, if we go over here to the whiteboard, each lift has a capacity, right? And so it's the capacity of the boom arm, and you don't want to overweight it. That's very bad, right? Things can happen, things can break. That's when people get hurt and stuff. So this 1200 Ultra has an unrestricted capacity of 500, and it has a restricted capacity of 1000. And this is just in reference to the reach chart. So if you look at the reach chart for this lift, you'll see a little diagram that shows you the range for the unrestricted and the range for the restricted. And so as long as you are staying within that range, then you are good for both of these weights. But if we add all this up and it's over 500 pounds, we have to stay in the restricted range of the arm. So let's go back to how we would do this traditionally. So this is a front view of the bucket. And what we would normally do is we would get my red marker here. We'd throw a candlestick in the front. And so this is just speed rail that goes straight up. Let's stick in this bottom one. Right, and up top is a candlestick maker, and that's where it gets its name from. And then up top we'd throw one of the Nanlux lights, and that's what we'd call a candlestick rig for a light. If you wanted to duplicate it, you could do one to the right, you could do one to the left, you could stack them, whatever works for your weight rating, right? But we're not going to do it this way because let's see, we have to add the movers at the bottom, and we may need extra support here for this candlestick because that cage is awesome. It houses 4, but it might be a little heavy. So what we're going to do instead is this, and this is still a front view, and this is the front of the basket. This is our candlestick here. Red is speed rail, and then this is our cluster of 4 Nanlux lights up top. That's the basket. Again, we're going to take a look at this, see if it needs more support, and we'll add that if it does. This whole thing's a process. We want to make sure that safety is paramount in any sort of rig. And then at the bottom here in purple, we're going to use some of our 6-inch Modulus X truss. Down here, we're going to strap it to the bottom of the basket, and then that is how our movers are going to be rigged at the bottom. So it's important. So we have all this stuff. Now we want to see if it's possible, right? So what you need to do is you actually need to add up all the weights. And so we're going to add up the speed rail, the cage, the lights, the movers, the truss, and then things you don't think about are the cheese burrows to attach the candlesticks, right? The pipe for the kickers for the hard mount on the Modulus X truss, the cable for the lights. You want to take all that stuff into account because all of that stuff matters when you're talking about weight rating for the bucket. So what you would end up with is 929.2 pounds. Pretty heavy. If you were to do it without the movers, you'd end up with 682.2. And so now that I have all this info, I can approach Shane with, hey, do you want the movers? Do you want to maybe only do one mover? Are we going to need to move this thing? Do you want a guy living in the basket? Because that adds weight as well, which is things that you have to account for. The next thing to do is have that discussion and then rig it up.
Yeah, and with that discussion, he's going to tell me that, restricted is going to probably limit my height. I probably would only get 100 feet maybe. Yeah. So in this location, that's going to be okay. So these are all the wonderful things that we go through, especially when we're in our kind of prep. We go, we tech scout these locations, we see what they are. I talk to them about what I would like, and they see if they can make it a reality. But every single time, if they come back to me and say, Shane, this is going to overload the lift, I don't feel this is good, I come up with a different plan because safety is paramount on set. And 100 times 100, I'm going to always circle back and go, okay, then let's lose a mover, or let's do it a different way with lighter lights. But for this one, I'm okay with the restricted at 929. I know 100 feet is going to be fine for me, And looking up on that chart, like Brendan said, is a huge aha moment for anyone looking at Condors and the way they work. Because the more you bring it down like this, the less you can put out on that end. So up here, you can put a lot of weight, correct?
Definitely, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, the higher and more straight up, plenty of weight. The minute you start coming down and starting to extend out, that's where you start to get into trouble.
Yeah.
So now let's get this party started and get you starting to rig this Condor.